Hello everyone and happy Friday. Welcome to the Mylio Photos coffee break. My name is Angela Andrew and I'm your host today. I'm also joined by Lori Rubin and she is also an expert in Mylio. If you are new to Mylio, you might have met her during your onboarding session. So she's going to be helping out in the chat, making sure I don't miss any of your questions towards the end and adding in some helpful links along the way as we go through the presentation. So the way that this works for coffee breaks is we'll have about 20 minutes of time to talk about today's topic, and then we'll have open Q&A. So if you have questions on the topic or anything else Mylio related, I'm happy to try to answer those for you today. Before we jump in, I do want to let you know that we also have live Q&A for you every Tuesday and Thursday. These are at 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. These are drop-in sessions where you can come in and either just listen into other people's questions or ask any questions that you might have. They're open to all levels of Mylio users, whether you're brand new, you've been with us for a long time. No question is too easy or too hard. We'll do our best to tackle everything, and pretty much anything photography related is on the table. So hope you guys will join me for those sessions. They're a lot of fun, always very enlightening. And then on Fridays, we have these coffee breaks. This week, we're going to be talking about family history research, and next week, we're going to be talking about mastering Mylio Photos for travel. So this is something we get asked quite often in the community, and I know we've done similar sessions before, but we're going to talk about different workflows you can have, whether you're traveling with just a tablet, with just your phone, or maybe you want to take a laptop and a hard drive, things like that, things that you want to consider when you're on the road with Mylio Photos. So with that, let's go ahead and switch over to today's topic, and we're going to talk about connecting your pictures to family history research. This is going to be a really fun topic because you guys are going to actually help me do some research for my family history today. I'm very fortunate that my family has been kind of getting on board with this process, and my dad has been scanning in pictures. What you're going to see in a moment is actually our family account that I'm sharing with my parents. My dad's been scanning stuff in. He's scanned in somewhere in the neighborhood of 25,000 images. Now, some of those are duplicates. Some of those are coming off of like the Epson Fast Photo that does two versions of a picture. So a regular scan and a prettified, make it look better scan, plus scans the back of the photo. So one picture could technically be 3 images, but still 25,000, that's just huge. And I'm so grateful for the work he's done because it has brought us so many memories and given us a lot of tools to go back and do additional research. So we're going to be looking at that today, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So why does this matter with family history? Because there's always all these documents out there, but documents are very kind of sterile. They don't have the complete picture of what's going on. Obviously, if we weren't there in the moment, we're not going to really know. But having a visual record gives us a lot more to work with than just a document. So we get context, emotion, and additional details that are often lost in those written documents. And once you get those pictures and you start adding that important metadata, it actually can become a searchable historical asset. Not just for you, which if you want to keep it private to you, that's totally fine, but you can actually connect to things like FamilySearch.org and make it a permanent public record that is searchable for generations and for other branches of your family, which I think is a really neat thing. So that's what we're going to get into today. So the first thing I want to point out for you guys is that Mylio Photos has a family history mode. So when you first log into Mylio Photos, it's automatically in this view. You can turn it off if you're not doing family history projects. Sometimes I work with it off, sometimes I work with it on. Basically, it just changes some of the options that you see visible and changes the order of how the metadata is displayed in the info panel. So if you want to go ahead and turn this on or off, you're going to go up here to the More menu in the application and just toggle on Family History View. And that's going to give you the options that you see today. If you go into your program and you're not seeing some of the options that we're talking about, make sure that this is enabled, and that's going to go ahead and open up a few additional options. All right, so let's do a quick overview on what is metadata. This is the information that's attached to a photo. It includes the who, what, when, and where. Mylio Photos, when you add this important information to the application, it saves that as an industry standard XMP file. This is a small text file that lives in your file system next to your pictures and holds all of that data. So you want to make sure that that XMP file does not get separated from your original picture. It is, like I said, industry standard, and it can be read by a wide variety of applications. That's why we use this format, is because it's not proprietary to us. You can take your information. If you want to, you can go somewhere else. And all of that information is still preserved. We also follow the standards of the Family History Metadata Working Group, which is an organization that is creating the standard that family history and genealogy websites and services are increasingly adopting. So we try to keep it as standardized as possible because we want your information to carry forward for generations. And that means that your metadata stays transferable between devices and different programs and things like that. Some of the things that you might want to preserve as you're going through and evaluating your pictures is obviously the first one is going to be the dates. When you scan in old media, typically that's going to be scanned into your computer on the date that it was scanned. And that's the date that's going to show in Mylio initially. So what you want to do is go in and adjust those dates so they reflect properly. Now, with historical photos, you might not know that specific date, so Mylio supports what we call fuzzy dates. And these are non-specific dates, so you can say it happened in the 1920s, or it happened in 1935, or you can put in a date and a timestamp if you want. Or if it's stuff that you need to research, you can actually mark it as undated, and that'll make it show in an undated category on the calendar. Let me jump over here to the application real quick, and let me show you what that looks like. So I'm in Mylio Photos right now. If I go to my calendar view and take a look, this is some scanned photos right here, and I'm pretty sure, actually I know for a fact because that's me right there. I'm actually very little, and this was not taken in 2025. To go ahead and correct this, I can either go into those pictures and I can change the dates on those pictures, or if I need to do a little bit of research because I don't remember exactly what year that was, I can mark it as undated. So I'm just going to say show all selected, and everything here that is marked as 2025, I'm just going to do a select all, go here to the date shown, click on this ellipses, scroll down, and for now I'm going to mark those as undated. Click save, and that's going to take them out of 2025 on my calendar, and they're going to then go into the undated category, which you're going to find at either the very top or the very bottom of your calendar. Here's the undated, and this is all stuff that needs to be researched and have the correct stuff, the correct dates added to it. So adding those dates is kind of the first step for me, the first bit of information that I try to track down. I then try to add in descriptive information. So if you're lucky and somebody has written on the back of the photo or maybe in the margin of the photo album, sometimes there's some information on the front of the photo, add that in to either the title or the caption of the photo. This makes that information even more searchable and easier to find later. And again, just preserve some of those details in case that gets, separated from the photo album that it's in, or maybe you have the front scan of the picture, but the back scan gets lost at some point, years and years down the road. Trying to keep as much of that information together with that picture as possible is what makes this, accessible for future generations. You can also add keywords, which this can be family names, locations, types of events. And I kind of have these listed in order of priority for me. So the title and the caption are probably the things that I'm going to add first. Keywords are, if I have something that's a keyword that I can add, great. If not, I'm not going to spend too much time worrying about keywords at this point. Next up, we want to tag people. For me, this is probably the most fun. And I've been going through this collection of 25,000 pictures that my dad has scanned. And my mom has also been working on it. We've been tagging as many people as we can recognize. And it is a massive task. So let me jump over here to Mylio. And over here in the people view, you can see we still have over 5,000 people who are untagged. These are faces that we may or may not recognize. I can always go here into my batch face tagging. And this groups together similar faces. And looking at these, I know at least here, I'm going to go from about here to here. I'm not sure about this one. I'm pretty sure that's Hazel, but I know the rest of these are. So I'm going to go ahead and click accept on those. And I just tagged a bunch of those faces. So every now and then I go in here and I try to tick off a few more and just add that information as I get it. Once somebody's been tagged, you can go into the people view here in Mylio and you can find them based on their name. So you can go ahead and search for that name. It'll pop up with all of their pictures. And this is just a really, really nice way to find pictures of specific people. So let me jump back over to the presentation. And let's talk a little bit about location and geotagging. That's where you can add information to the location so that information is preserved. If you know where something was taken, you can actually add it onto the map in Mylio. And that again preserves that information so later generations can find it and figure out, where was this taken? That looks like a really cool place. Does it even still exist? Those kinds of things. And then finally, probably one of the last things I would worry about is your file naming. If you want to get really detailed oriented, you can use clear, consistent naming for your files. So I like to do a year, month, day, and then a description. But I wouldn't get too hung up on this, because if you add all of this other information, this is going to be less important. It's nice to have, but it's not entirely necessary. So let's talk a little bit about how we can connect this information that we're gathering and putting into Mylio Photos with our family history research. One of the companies that we work with is FamilySearch.org. And why I love them is it is a free service. Anybody can sign up for this, and the extent of their records for historical research is really, really impressive. So we've got a couple of built-in integrations in Mylio Photos that help you bring in information about the people in your library, and if you want to, share pictures to their permanent archive. The things that you share to their permanent archive, if they are of people who are deceased, they become public record. If it is of people who are living, they are kept private to your account. So that's something nice to know. Also, when you connect somebody in Mylio Photos to their FamilySearch ID, it does not automatically populate any of your information that you've gathered to FamilySearch. Only when you specifically say send it, does it do that. So that's something good to understand. So let's take a look at first adding a FamilySearch ID in Mylio Photos. This is where you can connect the unique identifier in FamilySearch.org to your Mylio Photos library. And when you do this, it doesn't send any of your information to FamilySearch, but it does allow you to download some birth, death dates, and some various notes about that person. You can also do a manual lookup. So let's go ahead and walk through those here really quick. I'm going to jump back over here to Mylio, and we're going to go, let's go ahead and just pick my grandma here. I want to go ahead and connect her to FamilySearch. So what I'm going to do is go down here. I've selected her picture here. I'm in People View. If I go in here and I select a picture, the options over here has changed. So you want to make sure you're in that top level view and you've selected a single person. From here, I can go down and say choose FamilySearch contact, and that's going to launch a window that allows me to log into FamilySearch.org. If you haven't yet created an account, you can do so. And if you're brand new to FamilySearch, what I would recommend is going in there, poking around a little bit, adding a few of your immediate relatives, and then watch how it populates out with those public records. It is really, truly impressive. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and log in. I'm just going to go ahead and connect this with my Google account. And then I can go ahead and choose a person from my immediate family tree. Now, the way that this works is it's going to pull for, I think, a couple of generations in this initial list. If you need to go out further and you wanted to get cousins and aunts and uncles and things that are a little bit more obscure and farther out in your tree, you can expand this list. And that's going to give you a longer and wider list. And you can go ahead and pick people that way. Sometimes I've had to go out 2 or 3 levels to find those more distant relatives. But my grandma, she's going to be pretty easy to find. There she is right there, Bertha Jane O'Kelly. And I can go ahead and click continue. And that now has added her FamilySearch person ID here. It's also added her birth date, her death date, and it has even added a few relationships. Now, these are just unique to Mylio Photos. This is just for your own personal reference here. You can go in and change any of these. If it brings in incorrect information, you can adjust that. And if you need to, for somebody who's maybe not in your direct family tree, maybe it's a friend of the family who is like family, but you want to make sure they're connected. If you have just their FamilySearch ID, you can grab it from the FamilySearch website and paste it into this field as well. Just know that this FamilySearch contact lookup will only find things in your tree. So that's kind of step number 1. Once you've done that, you can see now I have a FamilySearch icon here on my grandma. That means that she's connected and I have that ID. Now, if I want to take pictures of her and I want to share those to FamilySearch, what I can do is double click on this here and let's find a good picture of her. I want to go ahead and find one of the early ones because there's some really great stuff in here from when she was quite young. you know what? Let's see here. These are just awesome. I am just so blown away by these pictures. They're so much fun to look at. And there's so many in here I haven't even looked at yet. So you guys are kind of exploring with me. And I'm guessing that's probably my Uncle Bruce, because look how young she looks. There could be my dad. I'm not sure. She got started young. There we go. Let's go ahead and go with that one. That one's pretty cute. And I want to send this to FamilySearch. So I don't have any other information on here. I know from when my dad scanned it, it was probably in the 50s, likely 1957. So that information is there. And I've already tagged her with her name and with her FamilySearch ID. So now from the info panel with just a picture selected, I can click Post Memories to FamilySearch. This brings up a little dialog. You can add a description if you have more background information. If you've already put a description over here in the info panel, it will populate for you. And then I can just go ahead and click Post. And then what happens is it goes directly to the FamilySearch website and it connects to her record on FamilySearch.org. So what I'm going to do here is pull up FamilySearch, and I'm going to go to Memories, and we'll go to the gallery, and we'll see that that picture is probably already here. It's processing at the moment. It does take a couple of moments for things to appear fully on the FamilySearch website. The reason for this is every single picture, from what I understand, is actually looked at by a human. And they're wanting to make sure that these are quality images. You're not uploading a bunch of duplicates. You're not uploading junk. They're family-friendly images, and that they are worthy of being contained in this permanent archive. So we can go ahead and click on this, and there it is. And you can see it's already attached. It's got her face tag preserved. If I had had location information or other details, that would all be visible here, which I think is absolutely marvelous. Once you've sent a picture to FamilySearch, let me go ahead and go back here to the grid. You'll see now that that also has the FamilySearch icon on it as well. And the reason for that is you're only going to be able to send this once. You can see I can't send it again. And again, it's because they don't want to get a bunch of duplicate images posted to FamilySearch. So it's just going to give you a little indicator here. That picture has already been sent, so you can find another one and go ahead and send those most important images. Now, posting things on FamilySearch, I wouldn't use this as a backup, but it's a great place to archive a few of these favorite images and be able to share them with family. Now, if you have some research you're doing, let's say you've already got a FamilySearch account and you're wanting to gather some more information and figure out who people are, that's where this can get really, really interesting. So I'm going to go here to my folders, and just to give you a look here, these are all the folders that my dad scanned. Isn't he amazing? I'm just absolutely blown away by this. But there's one folder here that I've been really enjoying picking through. And let me see if I can find it. It's just called Old Photos. And it's kind of one of the last batches he did. And it's stuff that, you know, he kind of came across at the end and he's like, oh gosh, there's more. So let's see here. I'm just going to do a find. Let's do old. See if I can get that to pop up. It didn't pop up that way. So I know it's part of the file name. Where did it go? I just saw it a little while ago. My goodness. Maybe in here. Oh, those weren't the ones. One moment. Let me see if I can find this, because they are some amazing, amazing pictures. So yeah, you can see miscellaneous pictures and boxes. Some of these got named a little bit less detailed as he went through. I could have sworn it was right in this area somewhere. But they're very, very old pictures. And I honestly don't know who a lot of these people are. So that's why I'm trying to find them, because they were just absolutely brilliant. Was it this one maybe? This has some good information here too. So anytime you get pictures of gravestones, things like that, it seems kind of morbid, but there's a lot of biographical information that can be had from those that can kind of tie in who's who and timelines on different things. So make sure you keep an eye on those. Goodness, where did these pictures go? My dad might have renamed some stuff, but let's go ahead and grab, let's see here. I had some really great ones picked out and now I can't find them. Let's see. I know it's here somewhere. I just looked at it right before coffee break. All right, so let's go here into the beginning, first married, and scroll down.
Yeah, Angela,
you did see it?
It's in the upper left-hand corner.
Yeah,
the very
that's
top.
where you were. Right
The very first one. Of course it is. Thank you, guys. All right, let's go ahead and go into this. So these are some of the ones that I wanted to show you. isn't this incredible? Okay, so luckily some of these have labels and we can kind of figure out who people are based on these labels. I don't have some of these people already named in my library, so I can go ahead and turn on my face recognition here. And this is Frank and Hattie Arnett. So there's Frank Owen Arnett. I already have him named. And I think I have Hattie in here. There we go. So now I've named them. And let's see, I'm trying to see what that says. Grace was a baby. So Grace might have been their daughter. So that's the kind of thing that I can then go over into FamilySearch. I'm gonna go ahead and back out of this and go here into my family tree. And we can start figuring out who and the timeline and things like that. So we can go over here. So there's Frank and Hattie. So let's go ahead and take a look at Frank. And we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the tree from his point of view. And this allows you to, again, start digging in and doing some of this research and figuring out who is who. So his children here, so this is when Grace was a baby. So if Grace was a baby, I'm guessing that was gonna be probably around 1890. And that gives me the context to be able to go back into Mylio and add a year to this. So instead of undated, I can go here and I can add a year. And I'm gonna go ahead and just say save for the moment. That gets me the format. And then I can just type in 1890. And that's how I go about doing additional research between FamilySearch and Mylio Photos. I kind of jump back and forth between. I get those little points of reference, and then I start filling in some of those blanks. Sometimes you have to make some assumptions, but I think that if Grace was a baby, 1890 is probably a pretty good shot. I think that's probably as close of a date as we're gonna get. And you know, that's pretty much how I do it. And it's just so much fun. It is a rabbit hole. I can end up spending hours doing this, and it's just absolutely incredible. So let me jump back over here and see if there's anything else that I wanted to show you. I did show you how to publish the memories to FamilySearch from Mylio. That's really nice. And this is kind of what it looks like. We already saw one of these. This is another one that I shared. This is my grandfather receiving an award from General Masters. He was a colonel in the Marine Corps, my grandfather. So really neat little newspaper clippings. So the things that you can share to FamilySearch aren't just photographs. They can be other historical records. They can be newspaper clippings like this. Anything that gives context and information about a person's life that you might want to preserve. And it's just a really fun way to connect with people. Via this platform, I've actually connected with some very, very distant cousins. It's been interesting. And to learn a little bit about their story and how they've connected with relatives over the years. Some of these people whose names I never even knew. And it's just really, really valuable. So with that, I want to go ahead and wrap things up and open up the floor for questions, because I'm sure there's quite a few. I've seen a lot of activity popping up into the chat. So let me go ahead and grab that in just a second here. Where did my chat window go? There it is. All right. So let me jump up here to the top. Thank you, Lori, for adding links. Appreciate that. Carol's asking, is there a section for correcting wrong face tags? So we do have some instructions in the manual on correcting face tags. It's not necessarily a super simple thing. So if you end up with, say, 2 collections that end up being the same person, you do end up having to go in and doing a bit of manual rework to correct those things. So let me go ahead and see if I can find one here, because I've been trying to correct them. And also with my mom and I both naming people, sometimes we've named people differently, and we've had to go in and correct some of those things as well. So I know there's been a few things here that have gotten a little jumbled, and let me see if I can find an example here that needs to be corrected. I think I did most of them earlier, so. All right. Yeah, I'm not seeing any here, but what I usually do is...
I see one right there. Conrad.
Which one?
Right there.
Oh, Conrad. Oh, yeah. So there's... I think that is the same person. I will let my mom fix that one, because I didn't know that person, so I don't feel comfortable merging them. I'll let her choose that. But yes, that is a good catch. I'm looking for more ones that I'm like, yes, I know exactly who that is, because I don't want to mess up the work that she's done either. Let's see here. But that is a good catch. Thank you. If you have additional information to add, like for Elsie here, I learned earlier, again, based on that research that I did on FamilySearch, that her maiden name was Kangas and then Evans is her married name. You can just go ahead and click into these fields and make those edits. So that is one way you can fix things. Let's see here. I'm sure there's other duplicates in here. And then there's also interesting things when you have people who are first, second, thirds and share names. So this family here, we've got GT, also a George Robertson, George Robertson, George Robertson. So there are different things you can do. You'll notice here, my mom entered this one, Hazel 2 O'Kelly, because we have Hazel O'Kelly, which was my great-grandmother. And then I have a cousin, I think she's a second or third cousin, also named Hazel. And we don't know her middle name. And she is married, so actually we could put her last name in here in parentheses, and that would differentiate. But again, these are things that, you kind of learn and work with as you go. So once we have more information here, we can go in and edit that. But as far as merging people...
Do you have a duplicate with Erwin Riles?
Erwin?
Yes.
Let's see.
Last name R-I-E-S, Irvin.
Oh, Reese. Okay, yes. Irvin Reese. There might be. Again, I didn't know him personally, so that's one that I probably wouldn't fix. Because there's Eric and there's Irvin. So those are two separate people. This was his grandfather, I believe. This is my cousin. So two separate people. Again, similar names passed down through families. It can get a little bit interesting, especially as you start having multi-generational things in here. Here we've got a Joseph O'Kelly and Joseph O'Kelly Sr. Goodness, I know there's other ones in here that are...
How did you handle maiden names? Could you just go over that one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me go back up here and find one where
there's only one field for last name.
Right. So there is actually an extended field you can enable in Mylio to put in maiden names or other names. But this is how I've chosen to do it. So the way the extra fields that you can enable in Mylio work is those are only in Mylio. They are not saved to metadata. However, the first name and last name are. So I've chosen for myself to just make use of these two fields. So the way that I do it is I'll put first name, middle name, and if they have a nickname, I'll put it here in this line. So you can see here for Ernest John, this is actually a good example of that. First name, middle name, and then nickname. And then for last name, for maiden names, I'll put them in parentheses. And if they've had multiple marriages, I put them in the order that they were married. So first marriage, second marriage, third marriage, and so forth.
Okay.
Does that clarify for you?
Well, and if you're already identifying, you're choosing the contact in Family Search, so they already have the maiden name.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is for my own use, and also it gets to put into the metadata. Not everything in my library is going to go to Family Search. I am pretty picky about which ones I'll send. So yeah, this will be saved to the metadata with each of these pictures. So the next person who comes and looks through these pictures is going to be like, oh, they can see this was, Elsie Evans, or, oh, I knew her as Elsie Kangas, or so forth. All right, so merging two people, you get the duplicates. So what I usually do is, let's just pretend that these two here are a duplicate, and I will look at which one has more images, and then I'll take the one with less. I'll go in there and I will rename those with the appropriate name. So I'd go in here and click on the face tagging and change it to the other spelling. Then what I'll do from there is take that one that I'm keeping and make any changes after I've deleted this one and I've renamed. I'll make any changes here. It is a bit manual and tedious of a process, but that is how I do it.
Angela, you
have,
when you were going through your list, you have down where you have Roach, I think is the last name. You have an empty folder and then one with the same name.
Yeah, so again, that's probably one that I think, actually I can probably just delete that one. That was probably a mistake that my mom had in there. She misspelled, I think, his name, so I'm just going to delete that. So once it's empty, you can just delete it, and it doesn't delete the photos. It just deletes that name of the person from the database.
That's what I wanted to know.
All right, so next up from Carol, do you have any integration with Ancestry or Roots Magic? We do not. So right now, the only integration we have is with FamilySearch.org. We might do something with them in the future, but I don't have any information on that at this time.
Okay.
From Carol Kendall. Let's see, did I say that the Family Search PID is added to the metadata? I haven't actually checked to see if that Family Search ID is appended to the XMP file. I'll have to double check that at some point. My recollection is that may be just a reference point inside of Mylio, but not actually saved to XMP. All right. And Carol, can you tell me how to get to the Family Connection screen directly? So the way that you get to the Family Connection screen is you click on a person, and then you go down here in their person category and you choose Family Search Contact. That'll allow you to log into Family Search website. Or if you select a photograph and you decide that you want to go ahead and have that sent as a memory, if you click here and you haven't yet logged in, that will also launch the login screen.
Well, originally you said that you could fix that screen to be the one that opens up when you open up Mylio. That you have it open up to the family.
Yeah. Oh, with the family history. Okay. So having the family history panel open, once you have that open, next time it'll open with the family history tools enabled. So if I go ahead and turn that off, you'll see that it changes what's available over here. You don't have the post memories anymore. And if I were to go into the people here and just have a person selected, the option to connect to Family Search is hidden. So in order to see those options, you do have to have family history turned on here from the More menu, and then just toggle that switch. And that brings back those options.
Thanks.
All right. Let's see here from Steve. The link to Family Search makes an invaluable tool for those of us who do genealogy research. I absolutely agree. It's very fun. And let's see, Carol is appreciating the links from Lori. Yes, we miss having Lori around for the Q&As because those links are awfully helpful. I do try to post them as I'm going through, but it's sometimes hard to get everything in there. All right, so from Carol, is there any way to sort files, folders, collections, alphanumerically in order of creation is a pain? Yeah, you can change the sort order on just about everything. So here in the person view, for instance, if I go up here to the More menu and I choose sort by, right now I have it sorting by first name. I can change that to sort by last name. And then you can also choose ascending or descending. Under other views, so let's go here into, say, a folder. I'll go back here to the grid. I can go here to the More menu and choose sort by name, which is the file name, the date created, or you can even search by rating. So if you have star ratings, things like that, you can have those come up first. And again, ascending or descending.
I thought you had a custom sort.
We do in albums. So if you are in an album, you can manually adjust those. So let's go over here to an album. Come on. Why am I not seeing any? Oh, because I haven't created any albums for I'm used to looking at my own personal Mylio, and I was like, I have a ton of albums. Like, where did my albums go? So let me create an album real quick. And I'm just going to select all of these, right click, add to album, and new album, test, continue. There we go. So now we have our test album. If I go in here and again, go up here to the More menu and sort by, you can see that there's a manual sort option for albums. So from there, you can just drag and drop things into the order that you want. So there we go. All right, let's see here from Kirk. If some names are the same, you could add a suffix, birth year to surname or similar approach. Absolutely, that is another way we've looked at doing it. What I would suggest for whatever format you choose for names is try to be consistent. And if you are collaborating with someone else on the account, make sure you're using the same format, because that's where my mom and I have run into issues is we've named people differently. We've used different formatting. So we've gotten on the same page about that. So everything going forward is correct, but there's still some stuff that we're having to go back and fix, that she named it one way, I named it another, or maybe it wasn't incomplete and then we ended up with two of them. It does happen when you're working in a collaboration space. All right, it looks like I got all the questions there. I don't see any hands up. Are there any other questions today?
No, but I have to say, Angela, I'm always so impressed by I mean, that's just amazing. And every time I see this, it gets bigger and bigger. It's just incredible. So kudos to everybody involved in your family with this. It's really nice.
Yeah, I am just so incredibly enthused by all the work my dad has done. These, like I said, these are all the folders that he's done. I've done a few, and I thought I was patting myself on the back for doing, 3,000 pictures. Folks, almost 30,000 pictures. This is incredible. And just the wealth of information. And these are just my grandmother's photo albums. So her photo albums, and then bringing in some of the digital pictures she had later in life. We're still trying to find some of those images because this was pre-time machine and pre-backups, and she had little digital cameras, and what happened to all those pictures. So we're still trying to chase down a lot of those, but everything that was prints, we've now gotten digitized. It's now being backed up. And we're able to get these out and share them with other family members. I think one of the coolest things that's been happening is my dad, as he's going through and scanning these, he's able to get in here and start sending them to people and be like, hey, do you remember this? Look at us when we were little. Do you remember this story? And it's just the greatest sense of connection. So I am so in awe of all the work that he's done. So with that, if there aren't any other questions, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up for, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Vicky's hand is up or was?
Oh, Vicky.
Yes, I'm back. I just wanted to say to everybody that came and that was in the class, everybody is so knowledgeable, and your questions and everything were so appropriate. And Angela is just amazing in how you explain things, and the way you've improved this history function just blows my mind. I learned 3 things today that I either didn't know existed or and now they're going to make my life so much easier in the family history section. So thank you guys. You are just in class. Everybody, you're awesome. Thank you.
I totally agree with Vicki. I did not know that this part of the family search even existed. So that's fabulous.
Oh, good. I'm glad I could give you guys some new stuff to play with and some new insight. And it is the most pleasant rabbit hole you're going to dive down. It's really cool.
Well, you guys are awesome. I have an off-topic question about deduping.
Sure.
I have a folder that has about maybe 50 things that I know are duplicates. There's like 4 of these and 4 of those, and it doesn't, when I go in, they are exactly the same size, they're the same name, everything, and I cannot get rid of them. I can't, when I go there, it says there's no duplicates in that folder.
Interesting. So something in those files is telling Mylio they are not exactly the same. So when you're looking at something that might be a dupe, let me go ahead and I'm just going to launch Photo Dedupe. I don't have many actual originals here on this machine, so they're going to come up with this yellow border. But if we go and take a look at these, let's just take a look at the pair if it'll let me. It is not going to let me. Okay. What I can see over here is that these are the exact same photo dimensions and the exact same file size. Have you compared those as well?
Yes.
Those are the same. File name's the same. They look to be the same, and they are the same file type. So they're both, say, JPEGs or both TIFFs, things like that.
Correct.
Interesting. You might want to take a. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
When I go to AutoMark, well, there's nothing there to AutoMark. It's just blank.
Right. Yeah. If there's nothing popping up here as potential matches, then it's not going to give you anything to be able to dedupe. What you might want to try, do they have the same date on them as well?
Yes.
Go ahead and go through this with declutter. Try it with declutter instead of dedupe and see if that will let you mark them. Now the auto mark options are different in declutter than they are in dedupe, but it should, if they're the same timestamp, pull them in. So you would just go here to photo declutter, and anything that has the same timestamp is going to show up in that batch. So for instance, you can see in some of these batches, like this one and this one, actually those look identical, but dedupe wasn't pulling those up. And this will allow you to group those and be able to go, okay, I'm going to get rid of this one. So I could say mark that to delete, And then these ones of my cousin here, those look absolutely identical. I can grab one of those to delete and so forth. And then you can go down here and you can delete or move them out of your library.
Okay, cool.
So give that a
Great.
try.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Like I said, you're awesome.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Doesn't have to be on today's topic. We can divert to something else if you guys have questions.
I'll make a comment, Angela. I worked in a family search library for about 18 months and scanned a family member's photo collection of 40 years. Wow. And come to find out after, it was about 2,500 scans, so it wasn't too bad. But I found that because they're family members, trying to identify, there was a lot of what looked like similar people. It would identify it as one of my cousins, but it was really another cousin because they have inherited similar facial features and stuff. So it became, the more you add of family members, I've found it's harder to, you have to be very careful and vigilant about identifying.
That is absolutely true. And I've noticed that in my library as well. So if I go here and I take a look, my cousin here, Sarah, and her mom, Cindy, as kids, they are very hard to tell. So you have to kind of go in and look, okay, what folder did it come from? What album did it come from? What time frame? Okay, it's this person. And then there was another one I came across. My mom and I had tagged, so under here, under Thomas, let's see if I can find this image. This one right here. So my mom had tagged both of these as my grandfather because if you zoom in on this picture, my grandpa's the one on the left and on the right is his dad and looks almost identical. This is how my grandpa looked when towards the end. And this is him obviously much younger, but like they look identical. And so, it's, you have to be careful. So we had these mistagged. They were both tagged for a little while as both my grandfather. And I was like, wait a second. I don't think that's the case that he can be in two places in a picture at once. So you do have to be, pay attention to that for sure. But this particular image for he looks so much like my grandfather when he was older. Its family resemblance is strong.
So Angela, when I was at the last Q&A, I asked you about rotating documents. Did you find out if that's a possibility or why I'm not able to rotate documents?
Like I said, if it's a PDF or a PSD, you should be able to. What kind of document is it?
The PDF, and one is a doc, from Word.
So the doc should be coming in properly. Like there's no reason a doc file wouldn't be. PDF, you should be able to rotate. I haven't had any problem rotating a PDF. Is it a multi-page PDF?
No.
It's just a single page. Interesting. Huh. So, and again, just to be clear, you tried this little rotate icon here on the right?
Yes.
And one other thing you could try is if you go into the crop tool, and you could do the rotates up here just to double check and make sure that doesn't work either.
Okay.
It should be the exact same thing, and if it doesn't work in one, it shouldn't work in the other, but I just want to double check and see.
Okay, I will check it out.
Okay. Especially with the PDF, I would suggest grabbing that file, sending it to support, and having them take a look at it and be like, hey, why can't I rotate this in Mylio? Because I'm pretty sure you should be able to rotate a PDF.
All right. Thanks.
You're welcome. Let's see here. Jeannie says, my husband had a twin brother, so I feel your pain. Twins are another level of complexity when you're face tagging. I found a set of twins in here that I don't know what part of my family they're from. I was trying to do a little bit of research earlier this morning, but didn't get anywhere. But twins definitely make it a little bit tougher. Kirk's asking, does dedupe limit the searching set to some filter, folder, etc. that might be active? If dupe photos are in a different place, then it might not show them. That is a great point. So back to that question on dedupe, I'm going to go ahead. Let me go back from all photos here to start. And if I go here into dedupe, go ahead and close that up. Check up here to see if there are any blue filters that are applied. You can go ahead and click those off. The other thing is if you are filtering to a specific location, so let's say I just want to find duplicates in this folder, you can compare it to just within these results, or you can compare it to the entire library. So that is another way that you can go ahead and clean things up. Make sure if you want to focus on a specific folder, but check for duplicates all throughout your library, make sure you have all library or entire library checked. Great points. All right, anything else today? All right, well, as we wrap up, I just want to go ahead and remind you guys that we have Q&A coming up next week. That's going to be every Tuesday and Thursday. That's going to be 11:30 a.m. Pacific time and 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And then next Friday's coffee break, we're going to be talking about travel with Mylio Photos. It's going to be a lot of fun and one of my favorite things to do. So I'm anxious to share some of my workflow tips with you. With that, I want to wish you guys a wonderful weekend. Get out there and make some memories, do something fun. And thank you, Lori, again, for being here to help out. We appreciate you so much. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks, Lori.
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you.